We're gonna go live now. And we're gonna be live. We're gonna play DnD. And it's gonna go fine. Alright, that's it. I could have kept going, but I'm like, nah.
So, we would like to go buy 101 Dalmatians, sir.
So you wake up in the morning with a breakfast presented to you because, of course, it's this tavern. You do get a letter back from Halavar, your patron here, who is essentially, in short, your job is to excise the spirit, put it to rest. And then, what do you want to do with the day? It is not raining today.
That because I am being paranoid and because people are being killed for talking to us, that I will check our food for poison before we eat it in the morning.
That is hilarious and smart. It is not poisoned.
That's good.
Okay. It's just like mid-bite, like, and you're like...
Like, I kind of like put your hand down for a second.
Burwit has like a piece of cheese from last night that he's already munching on, but it's from last night, so it's probably fine.
By the way, that's all I know is before I went to bed, there was an insane amount of cheese, and now there's an insane amount of that cheese missing. So
Burwit is doing great.
Good. I'm happy for you.
He is. I am living vicariously through him. He is not lactose intolerant.
Oh,
It's funny because Stalbor definitely still is.
That makes sense, honestly.
That's why he's so sad.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Yeah.
That's why I'm sad.
Yeah.
I dared to have a slice of cheesecake today. After dinner. Not good, I know.
Sometimes you just have to raise your middle finger to the gods and...
Yeah.
I think the issue is it was my second slice of cheesecake.
Yeah, that'll do it.
That's just hubris.
That's the issue.
My roommate's just like, he like goes, grabs an iced coffee off the shelf. It's like, are you really? Are you sure you want to do that? He goes, yeah. Grabs air freshener as well.
Sometimes you just need to sit in bed for an entire day and eat a Snickers, even though you're allergic to peanuts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Alright, so cheese out of the way. No poison in it.
Good. I was eating it anyways. Even if it was poisoned, I was going to eat that cheese. I just want to point that out. There was nothing stopping me from eating that cheese.
She can remove poison as well, so it's fine.
Exactly. Yeah, it's fine. I think we want to go and go to one of those shops that has hunting dogs, if you don't mind.
Please give me investigation check to find a dog emporium. One of you can do this with advantage because, of course, you're all going to work together because you're friends and comrades.
I would have also put the makeup on again this morning.
Yes.
Who's the
I'm
smartest
expecting
of
the
us?
meeting to take off mask and stuff.
So what you're
Is
looking
that
for?
not the knowledge cleric?
It's not the knowledge cleric, I'll tell you that.
That's insane. My insight is +1.
Well, investigation,
Oh,
right?
investigation.
Investigation,
My
yeah.
investigation is -1.
I have
My
a +1.
investigation. My investigation is 0.
Oh
I got +1.
Really quick.
I feel like Varric has been around the town a little bit more. He might know a little better.
So I'd be like
That's true.
telling Eric about like, they'd probably be doing whatever in the, for hunting, and that'd probably mislead you horribly. So, but I'm helping.
I mean, I was casing the places we came in. I might have an idea.
And I guess you're going to be the one who rolls the investigation with advantage then.
Also, I would
Okay.
like to point out before we leave, I'm not drinking coffee today as much as I am tempted to do so. I need my wits about me this morning if we're going to be selecting a dog.
So, important
We're
question here,
drinking
Varric.
coffee.
As you're going through you think of places you've seen. You've seen a lot more now that you've snuck around, because you had to sneak through the lower pass to the sort of the Waterdown district. Do you want to buy from a sort of actual like hunting shop in the mercantile district, or do you want to go to somewhere in the sort of slightly more shady areas that you're hunting in? You did definitely see places that are very selling fighting dogs.
Shady pound puppy.
I will ask Tobias what he wants. Would he prefer option A or option B?
It's a good question. It would be worth maybe checking out both.
No. One or the other.
You don't want to have
Hunting dogs here are not going to necessarily be the most hardy, whereas dogs in the shadier part of town probably going to be a little bit hardier. They lived a little bit of a more rough life. If you're wanting to bring him back up north with us, I would recommend the shady areas.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I don't assume that the type of sport that they hunt in these parts is equivalent to what we hunt in the north.
I mean,
Okay.
you remember that thing that hunted us?
No,
Okay.
I remember the thing that we hunted.
Oh, that
Yeah,
we
that
laid a
was it.
trap for.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but that's kind of, I mean, I imagine that's not what they're doing at all. They're probably hunting small game. So I would recommend shady.
It might be harder to find a suitable animal, but
It will also be cheaper, almost undoubtedly.
that's true.
Yep.
And besides, you seem like you are fairly good at handling animals, so I'm sure you'll be fine. Might be a little bit feisty.
You could say my animal handling on a scale of 1 to 5 is about a
No. So you go to the shady.
Looking
to
like
buy a
doing something
puppy.
else, and immediately just
I'm always watching. All right. So you go to the shady
Your
district
animal handling is as good as mine, then.
to go buy a puppy, and exactly, Varric, you just snuck your way through this district and saw much more than anyone else. Now, admittedly, this area of the city is not that large, or you don't really know how much this sort of area of influence goes. The area you're thinking about is not that large. But you've run through it all, but you've not really looked. But Varric has actually seen a place. And in daytime, this district is not as crappy. Especially because it's not raining and the water isn't running down. It is misty this morning, though, and the misty is sort of cloying down here. And you go into this slightly shady establishment selling hunting animals and fighting animals. And you go in, he's like, we want a hunting dog. The dog that they have that you've immediately are interested in is a, I believe, I don't know how it's pronounced, but it looks like it's pronounced a feist. It's a fairly small hunting dog, but he's a hardy lad. The interesting thing about this guy is he has almost like tiger stripes on the back. They don't have a lot of dogs here. They actually have some much larger or dangerous creatures, like they have a tiger. You aren't trying to buy a tiger, but that is the dog that if you're looking, you're like, we need a dog to hunt.
Yeah.
That is what they show you, and he is 25 gold.
Cool. I want to inspect the dog, like roll animal handling, I guess, to try to basically just get a good.
Yeah. Get figure out what this dog's all about, what they got going on.
Yeah. I guess I'll roll that. Also. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It seems like exactly as Barut said, a dog raised in this environment is going to be tough. It's not the biggest dog in the world. It's actually fairly small, but is very tough and seems very stubborn and steadfast. It doesn't look like he's gonna be any pushover. I have to scroll up.
Yeah, I would also like to use that, not the second half of it, but the first half of it, which would allow me to communicate with the animal. Just basically try to get a read on, because it's not like we're having a conversation, but just if it is capable and
it's not that you speak with animals, it's more you're communicating. So it's like one of those things, like you come in here and when they have him in a cage that's slightly too small. And you sort of kneel beside it, and he kind of like sniffs your hands, and you sort of take that moment to kind of form some bond. Yeah, you get much more of that, but there is that little connection there starting to form.
All right. And also, I guess, other question, is the dog a boy dog or is it a girl dog?
He's a boy.
I'll chat with you. Why not?
Oh, you have to speak with animals? That's perfect.
I
yeah.
do. I get it from my my paladin.
Oh, right, because you're a nature paladin. That's awesome.
Mhm.
All right, cool.
So I will actually have a conversation with all the different animals and see how they are.
It's one of those things where they are as surprised as the party is when you start like checking on all the animals.
Yeah, that's just barking at the dogs. Like,
Well, that's up to Erin whether she's actually barking at them or not.
No.
Yeah, I
I
imagine
was
this
really,
one
I'm more
is not.
talking to them in common.
Yeah.
than I'm-
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Fae character in Monday barks to the dogs when they cast Speak with Animals. This is a more classy paladin.
oh, that's great.
Fair.
It's still great. It's still so
It's
good.
yeah.
And I would actually, I would see like if any of them have been like mistreated or misbehaved in any way.
All of them.
Yes. Blanket, yes. This is a hunting shop. This is a fighting shop. These are animals made for either fighting men or fighting each other. They are enforcement animals, but they're elves, so some of them are a little bit up above the punch grade, like a fucking tiger. But yeah, they are not treated great. Sort of the impression you get when you're starting talking to them, and I'm not going to do all the animal voices because there's a lot of them, but is that they are essentially quite literally whipped into shape. They are pushed into being fighting animals. That's what they do.
Well, we can't leave any of them.
How much for the entire shop?
Oh, no.
Just out of curiosity. Just
You say that, and like the guy is just like, you can't afford that.
Maybe not, but I'm curious.
It's not for sale.
Okay,
But you
what about
could
all the
afford it.
animals? I don't want your shop, to be clear. I don't want to purchase the building and everything. I just want all of, and I'm going to direct my hands to all of the
You're
animals.
making some kind of circus or something?
Possibly. That's my business.
1,000 gold.
Give me time. Don't sell too many animals in the meantime. And I'm going to pat him on the shoulder, and then I'm going to turn to... gonna turn to Tobias and say, "Get your dog first," and then turn to Eleanor. We need to get 1,000 gold together. And that is the first time he will have fully whispered.
That's how Brute does it.
I
It
mean,
takes 3.
Do
Take
Takes
3 to
three.
learn a new thing.
1,000 gold?
3 to learn a thing. 1,000 gold. It's doable.
Do we have to? I mean, these are fighting animals. They might fight for their freedom.
And I'm gonna pat you on the shoulder and
I wouldn't say that in the store, of course.
no, just yeah, we'll see.
This is how the campaign was derailed. But
It's always innocent animals.
It is.
It's
Yeah.
just the way it works.
but yeah,
I would say if we get a chance, like we go near any shops in this area, because this is the shady area, that would sell thieves' tools.
You still haven't
Oh.
bought the dog.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Buy
whoops,
the
my
dog
bad.
first.
which is what I was just about to say. I'm just gonna hand the guy 25 gold pieces and be like, done.
And then he
just-
opens the cage and he like goes to hand you a leash, but immediately the pupper just kind of like walks up to you and starts walking aside you.
Yeah,
Like,
and I'm just gonna ignore him. This
Yeah.
guy's straight trash. And just whistle for the dog, basically.
yeah, and he follows you happily.
Cool.
I want to point out.
Eleanor if she can ask him what his name is, if he even has one.
I'm gonna quickly hand you a bit of cheese as well that I stole from the hotel room.
Don't
Buy
give
it.
dogs cheese.
Dogs. certain dogs are perfectly fine having cheese, and a feist is one that can have cheese.
Ah, don't!
No, I actually know this because
The one time I actually look up a dog breed. Okay. Aino, when you like outside the shop, you like maybe crouch down and try to talk to him. He's like,
Certainly.
I don't have a name.
Would you like a name?
I ain't never been given no name.
Do you want a name?
I like him.
And I'll scratch him like by the ears.
That's pretty good. Yeah, to the right. Yeah.
Take all
You're not
these
so
boys.
bad, sweet cheeks.
I love him.
I mean, you can talk to me, which is way above the rest of you.
Very good boy. He doesn't have a name.
Okay. I'm just going to crouch down to his level and pull out like a bit of ration, I guess.
I handed you cheese. Give him the cheese.
Not good for dogs.
It's perfectly fine for this dog.
Yeah, but that's just fat. If you eat too much cheese, you'll get fat.
He needs to be warm when we take him up north. Put a little bit of fat on him. He needs a little bit of fat on him. And I'm gonna hand you more cheese.
At this point, you realize Barut has pocket cheese. Like, an alarming amount. One bit was like, alright, sure. Two is
It's like
where
off of
worrying.
one like tiny piece that I just pocketed, and I've just been breaking you off little pieces of it.
This is going to be an intervention at some point, I can already tell, but for now, I'm just going to give him a piece of meat, like some dried ration
Yeah, exactly.
or something, ignoring the overabundance of cheese that is being offered.
Yeah, and I hear him like, what's that? What's he handing? It smells good. I want that.
It's
I
good.
want
Try it.
I want the yellow stuff.
He wants the cheese.
I told you.
want that.
It's good for him.
It's not. I disagree.
It is good for him.
Oh my god.
In moderation, it's
Give
fine.
him at least a little
I will
piece.
take a piece of cheese.
There you go.
And just like, don't get used
This
to it.
is fucking good. This is what you people eat. I want to eat this
Yeah.
all the time. I want to eat this every day. How often am I gonna get fed? I only got fed like once a week in there.
Oh, you'll get fed all the time.
Not all the time.
Well,
I'm
not
hearing
really,
you
but,
say
like,
this in
No, he
context.
hasn't been like fed food in a long time.
He'll be fed 3
That's
times
cheese.
a day on a diet of meat.
Give him a little bit of cheese every now and then.
Maybe a little bit of cheese once in a while.
There you go. There you go.
Oh, this is great.
When we can find it, it's hard to find. This is, I mean, well, not that hard. It's not as hard as coffee, but it's still, for me,
Cheese?
I'm excited. Yeah.
Good cheese is
good
hard to
cheese.
find. Yeah,
That's what, yeah.
Basic cheese, which is way worse than cheese that you are buying in this modern world, is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Good cheese is hard to find. That's true.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean by that. The
No, I
cheese that
got
you
you.
currently have that's from my pocket is still better than the crap that you're going to be buying in the future.
That's fair. Yeah, I'll just kind of like give him some scritches behind one of his ears. Be like, your name is Bjor now. The giant word for inevitable, because you will find someone for us. And I'm sure there will be many other people I need you to find. Not that I expect him to actually understand what I'm saying. To
Well,
him.
he does, sort of, enough, because of your link to animals.
Right. He understands that I'm going to need him to track some stuff.
Yeah,
for me.
yeah.
And I'm
For
going
sure.
to explain to him as best I can, like, we're partners now. And, stand up and head on our way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, while we're in the shady place, can I find some place to buy thieves' tools?
Absolutely, you can buy thieves' tools, just book price. No problemo.
I have just not enough to buy it off straight price, so I would try and negotiate it down.
Are you sure one of your comrades doesn't want to split you a couple
I will
of coins?
just give you what
It's
you
one of
need.
those things where, like, oh, I'm
We
gonna
have
need to
party
barter, and Barut's like, don't barter with these people.
81 gold.
Okay.
How much is it?
25 gold for thieves'
And
tools.
how much do you need?
I only need 2 gold to get to 25.
Yeah, exactly.
Have 2 gold. I hand 2
Okay.
gold to you and just say, don't bother.
Okay.
Better
thank
if you
you.
just pay them the price that they're looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You buy a set of thieves' tools. One of those things, even the goods in this area are still fine elven quality. It's just that might not have belonged to the person who sold it to you. But they're thieves' tools, so...
That's
but,
the point.
Literally,
but they're not
how
sold
sour are
as
you if
thieves'
someone
tools.
steals your thieves'
No.
tools?
They were probably some asshole who broke into a place and then got his thieves' tools stolen. It's fine. He's just
Someone
an
stole
idiot.
someone's stool? That's not nice.
Yeah, someone's thieves' stools. You know, the stools that they sit on while they pick the locks because it takes them so long.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you
Funny
say
story!
I thought you said
Those like quick setup stools definitely exist, and I had a long like mental discussion with myself about whether I was gonna buy one when I was at university.
They're really just useful things.
Okay.
I'm the only one on this
What are you
train.
doing, party?
Oh, no, a lot
What
of
time
the
is
things in
It
thieves'
is
tools are really
still
useful.
early morning. You guys
Cool.
go out earlier than most people.
Cool. We have several things that we want to do. We want to go and see what we can find about Aelidi. It's a very difficult name to say. I'm saying this in common, which is why I'm saying that it's a very
It's so-
difficult
it-
name to
it-
see.
it
It's a
does
very
not-
weird
yeah.
one to translate properly, but I tried. Aelidi, we want to find out more about her. We want to... Did you end up finding out where she lived or anything about that?
No, I didn't, unfortunately. I found out her friend's name, and I'll give him the friend's name. I'm not even going to try and say
Caldicus.
that. Caldicus. Caldicus Velrexen.
Caldicus Velrexen. Okay. And then it was just fire. North. They said north. Could it have been at one of the vineyards?
It might have been and I'll relay the information about the man almost heading north and then remembering and heading somewhere else. I think it's worth checking out.
If we go to the vineyard, it's potentially dangerous.
That's true.
Especially since I'm hoping to have a meeting this evening.
Oh, okay.
Well, do you remember the woman at the tavern? She
Oh, right.
told me to come back this evening. I don't think we
That
should
could
move
also be-
on the burial ground or on the vineyard until we know that that's not happening. Or perhaps
I would
I
be
go
careful.
alone to the bar.
If you're
and
going
you-
alone, I am going with you, but stealthed. I'm going to hide and I'm going to watch. I am not going to let you just go alone.
More what I mean is that it might be pertinent if the meeting does happen, that pertinent to note, I should say, that some of their people who might have a little bit more influence would be away if they were coming to talk with me. Might not be a bad idea to find out what you can while they're talking to me. But they're not going to send their higher ups, not the high ups. They might send some middlemen, some mid-range management. But it's a thought. The other thing, well, we could go back to the library, have another discussion with Aelidi, if you're feeling up for that. You seem to have made a connection with her last time. I probably
I can
need to clean up
definitely
some
try.
more books.
I can definitely try.
But Tobias, were you wanting to do your hunt to try and find the man who didn't give me his name so rudely after shaking my hand?
It might be it might be a good place to start.
I'm just worried it's going to take you back to the vineyard or the burial ground.
There's a chance. That's most likely what would happen. It's not impossible that it leads somewhere else, but
It's possible it leaves you right back to the Dusty Stallion.
Yeah.
He could be back there by now. Who knows? But perhaps I dare not suggest it for the dangers that are in this city, but perhaps we split up.
Bum, 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 bum. This is going to end poorly, but...
Team human, team elf?
Hey!
Is that what you're suggesting?
That's what I'm suggesting.
So what is each team planning on doing? I wasn't really listening enough. Honestly, you were going through a lot of plans.
Yeah.
I was just kind of waiting for you to decide.
We are going to the library.
Yeah, we're going to go try...
If you have anything you want to do first, then yeah. But...
Team humans.
No, I agree. Let's go try and talk to Aelity again. Or Caldicus.
Well, if Caldicus is there, then
it might be her. We don't know which one's which.
Who knows? But also Halavar. We may wish to speak with him as well if he's there.
I mean,
having
at
more
that point,
information
I don't
as
think
well.
There's any reason for us to split up until
No.
we get we should probably stick together until we can't anymore.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
If you're more comfortable, absolutely. I just thought you'd want to spend some more time with Bjor before. But I mean, he can probably
in the library. I'll just stay outside.
Yeah, he's not gonna like that.
They wouldn't let him in the library, unfortunately. Maybe if you cleaned him up a little bit and claimed that he was a support animal. It is occasionally the case that they allow support animals in, especially for the more anxious high elves. But they're usually very clean and usually a different kind of animal than a dog. But
I just kind of look to the dog and look to you, and I'm like,
who is definitely licking places that are not
look at him.
licked in
He's
polite
beautiful.
company.
He's a beauty.
he is absolutely stunningly
He's himself right
amazing. Yes, he is. But much like the high elves aren't necessarily a fan of my face, anything that doesn't fit their conformed ideals probably is not going to be let into that library. The only reason I was let in is because I had to bribe my way in last time,
Well, I don't see
and this
how
time
that's
I'm doing a job.
Dogs can't read anyways. And then-
It's more that they don't trust them not to pee on everything.
Well, I mean, if it's his library, he's gonna pee on it, but it's like...
So you head to the library.
Yeah.
You stay outside with your dog.
Yeah.
When you go in, it's apparent that the bottom floor is not in use again yet. But Halavar is in there as the head of things, who is sort of cleaning some things up. You notice this slightly formless apparition carrying books that have been knocked on the ground, and it occasionally looks like he's sort of pointing it in the right direction. When however many of you walk in, he sort of snaps and turns and looks pretty much exactly the same as the last time you saw him. He is a high elf, and says, "I'm glad to see you all again. I must say, the truth that this banshee was not slain by your first attempt, it has been a considerable stress upon my seat here."
We are working to solve any issues that may have arisen, but it came to my attention through my study that she may not just be a banshee. She may also be a poltergeist, which is why we need to put her to rest and not simply slay her. It's not something that's been recorded as far as I know, not in the past, but I will be making detailed notes of it so that should it happen in the future, individuals will know what to do.
I trust that you will. What is it that you are looking for in particular?
Well, Caldicus Velrexin. Does the name sound familiar?
Yes, that is the friend of Elodie Whisperglade.
What can you tell me about Caldicus?
Joined at the hip from more of a wealthy background than Elodie. On my research, I realized they are such good companions because they were born on the same day in the same infirmary and have been bonded together ever since. And kind of turns to Aelinor if she's in here, or Virik, because Virik kind of looks elfy but not 100%. You see, elves are born quite rarely, and even rarely do they have siblings or twins. To even being born on the same day in the same place makes them, in our eyes, have a closer bond than any twin of your kind could. I did do more research, and Elodie has been missing since a fire in a private vineyard. Caldicus has not left her home since, or at least her island. She lives in one of the islands above the southern side of the city, beyond the river.
Would you be able to point that one out to me? On a map. I'll pull out like a shoddy map that I had from my travels.
It's one of those things where that map is not good enough. So it's not he goes over to like a map that's in here, and essentially like it's a pop-up book of like paper layers, because it's a multi-tiered flying island city, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you memorize it so you can like draw it.
Yeah.
And so the city of Thundral is a northern side and a southern side, built around a river. The bottom of it, anyway. The northern side is bigger, and that's where you are, and that's where all the important parts are. And the southern side is much smaller, but it's not anything like, of course, they build on both sides. Just above that, small flying islands. There's less flying islands above that side of the city. And he kind of motions to one of them. And he says, although I assume you have not done much traveling to Sky City, you will find that to travel across the river is free, although you will have to wait for the ferry, although you can pay for faster passage. Traveling up into the Skyward City is always at a slight cost, unless, of course, you are traveling on the behalf of the city, which unfortunately you are not, for this is a private library. A privately owned library, after all.
And what is the cost?
It depends on who you gather. It will be no more than a gold or two to take you and your companions.
That is all that we would be bringing. A gold or two is fine. That's not a concern. Now, the Velrexen family, then. What can you tell me of them?
Not a family of note. I honestly do not know any of them but her. Which is strange. Most likely they have already faded and passed from this world. The same with Elodie's family. They were both alone bar each other.
Well, one note that I would disagree with is that there are no unimportant families, and there are no families that are not of note. But it is how they are of note that matters. And I imagine for Caldicus, they were very much of note. And I'm going to bow, and I'm going to turn around and walk out, and I'm going to pat Virik on the shoulder and say, if you would still like to go try and talk with Elodie, you are more than welcome. I will be outside being comforted by our support animal.
I will nod and
Head upstairs.
Yep. Almost not even acknowledging the guy.
Yeah,
like,
no.
Yeah. I nod to Barut, not him, and then I go upstairs.
When you do, it's still not still. This is much more of books flying around and apparitions being created. But you aren't bothered, again. But the apparitions are more... There's more of them. Of the apparitions made of words and ink. again, you don't see the Banshee herself.
I'm gonna sit down at one of the tables once again. Remove my everything, the hood and mask.
Well, I hope you don't remove everything. You can't streak in a library.
No. And I'm just gonna say, hey, Lydia, I've learned more. I've learned. I've learned what's happening to the Forgotten. And I want you to know that we're going to try and do something about it. We're going to go see your friend Caldicus and make sure she's okay. Just, I think, keeping you in the loop. We're gonna fix this.
It's almost, yeah. It's like when you wait and you feel nothing, you hear nothing, you see nothing. You're like, you stand up. When you stand up, you look back on the table, scrawled into this beautiful table, is "Finish what I started."
Okay, I will. And I'll nod at the table, not knowing where to nod, and then I'll walk out. And I'll relay the information. So, I think I'm getting somewhere. She didn't talk to me, but she scratched into a table, finished what I started.
I mean, that's the ghost version of talking to you, I think.
I think so. So I think I'm getting there. Let's go make sure our friend's okay.
I do have to say, what if what she started wasn't necessarily a good act?
That's what we're going to find out.
I just don't want you to get too attached if things go poorly.
That I understand. If it turns out that my instincts are misplaced, fair enough.
I'll kind of like give him like a reassuring pat on the shoulder, like as we go forward.
He puts his mask on.
Yep.
And you head to find a sky chariot, which you never really... You noticed they existed, but you never really thought about it before. In a much more of the more populated areas, you find essentially like stairways that go up to little areas where there are griffins and pegasi. More often griffins. The much more like a nobleman's chariot that is clearly private will have a pegasi. But if you want to hire a chariot with enough space for all of you, which is easy enough, it'll cost you 2 gold to go to the area you want to go on the other side of the river, up onto one of the islands. It's not a very high island, it's not very much.
And I'll pay for that.
You're, being an elvish city, your driver does not make any small talk with you absolutely, and it is very pleasant. And you fly off the ground, whisked by this sky chariot. The chariot itself suspended by enough magic to keep the ride relatively stable, but it's still, you're flying, which all but probably one of you have not flown before.
Varric didn't like boats. He's not gonna like this.
No!
Bruit's eating his pocket cheese.
Just slowly getting lower in the thing.
Clinging to the sides.
Yeah.
This is one of those situations where you see more of the higher areas of the city. It's not that you're actually flying too high. This is basically the next layer up. And on that side of the city, it doesn't really go much further than this, aside from a couple of things which are essentially equivalent to like watchtowers, right? It is quite literally an island that's flying, you know, a chunk of rock and earth with grass and greenery and railings around the side. It's perfectly enclosed and safe, unless you're jumping off the edge like a ninja might end up doing at some point in this campaign. On this island itself, it is essentially suburbs. They are quite nice houses, but they're high elven houses, and unless you get incredibly rich, high elves don't need a lot of space to live. Because they don't need like a bedroom like a lot of other places. So a lot of these are like very like neat, tall houses that some of them have like another layer of houses on top of, but all of them have a little bit of garden and stuff, and there's quite nice streets and there's flowers and things. It's a perfectly pleasant neighborhood when you land there and head off. And it's one of those things where down below, you know, markets and things, there's much less of a market going on here. It is quite literally like the suburbs. There are people who tending to their gardens outside now. It's like, you literally pass as you're walking down the street, like, the rain has been brilliant for my, for the petals, you know, like, elvish suburbs. Now, you were giving an island, you weren't even did, like, a house number or anything.
One of those people who's doing their gardening, I'm going to ask them, what do you think of the Velrexin garden?
They sort of stand and sort of brushed the slight, tiny amount of dirt off their gardening gloves and look at you, a bit of confusion, and say, "It is not polite to judge another neighbor's garden, but between you and me, it's really let itself go.
Oh dear.
I don't like to say that she should hire someone."
Let me tell you, it's been a while since I've been up here. I've been traveling, you know, as you do. And, well, let me tell you, it has been ages, and I'm embarrassed to say I've forgotten the way to the Velrexin house.
Really forgot. Forgotten in time. All right, you're back.
Okay.
Start again. Rework that whole sentence. Yeah, I'm sure you did a great job. None of it.
Yeah. All right. Where did you hear up till? Because I was like 3 sentences in.
You were asking for directions.
Sure. I basically said, you know, I'm horribly embarrassed to say, but I've forgotten where the Velrexin household is. And, you know, it's been a while since I've spoken with Caldicus, but maybe if I go over there, maybe I can convince her, you know, to hire somebody. Bring up the whole...
Not even any role for this. It's so perfect. That they're just like, oh, it'll be up around there to the, like, pretty much gives you pinpoint directions to the little house in the neighborhood.
Thank you so much. And I think it'll really, you know, if I can convince her, it'll bring up the aesthetic of the whole neighborhood, just because you don't want to have one that's been let go. It's unfortunate. But regardless, we'll see what we can do. And I'm just going to give her a nod and then turn to the companions and say, yeah, well, this is where we're going.
It's genuinely a very nice place to walk through, because it's full on spring, like flowers are blooming, and here where there's like space and clean air, you can like smell the gardens. And these are elves. They care for much more than just appearances. The scent of their gardens also is as important. And also the sound. The way that the leaves are bristling on trees. Very important. It's a very quiet neighborhood. When you get to where you were told the Velrexin house was, it is slightly overgrown. There is like some vine creepers that have gone up on a trellis on the side of the building that have slightly sort of creeped out around. But you have much worse problems at Chasmguard.
Yeah.
You notice, you know what? Give me a perception check, Brute. He's the only person who would care about the garden quality.
He does care about the garden quality.
You notice that, actually the flowers in this garden smell slightly unpleasant. They're of a slightly sort of acidic, sour smell to them. They're these sort of purplish black, cup-like plants.
Do I recognize them?
You've seen them before. You don't remember the breed off the top of your head, but maybe if you were like, if I could get a book, I could keep it and figure it out like instantly. It's like one of those close enough. I have that with bugs all the time. I have like a book on like common garden bugs and like, what's that? It's a larva. There is hanging from a tree a series of wind chimes that make this very pleasant, gentle, ethereal noise right beside a slightly open window. Not open enough that you could yell in, but enough that the sound probably drifts in. It's very much a very small 2-story house. very, very small and tight. There are a couple of flower wreaths on the step of the house as well. Looks like they've been left there, and looks like they've been left there for quite a bit of time. Enough that the flower wreaths have wilted.
What is the common way for a high elf to knock on the door, or like to essentially attempt to call the individual inside? Is it knocking the door? Do they have a bell? Do they
it would be if they have a bell, you would ring the bell. But just a knock, and maybe even a say why you're there, especially in a house this small where you figure they're probably already in.
So they do not have a bell then, presumably. So okay, then I will a slight rapping knock, nothing too aggressive, very gentle, attempting to be courteous with the knock, and then say, "Hello. We're looking to speak with Caldicus. My name is Buruit Benerin. I am here, well, to learn about Aelody."
There's a pretty long pause. Kind of similar to Tesha's, like, maybe we should turn around. But Barut, being an elf who has been in this kind of city before, is expecting the pause. And the door opens to a fairly young elven woman, but probably in her 200s, so like young and fresh-faced, but fully adult. With long black hair that is just straight. Not really much done to it. Pretty pale skin for a high elf, probably stays inside a lot. And clothing that is of a fine-ish elvish quality. Not fine clothing, just elvish quality. Even their commoner clothes are quite nice, which are nice blacks and purples, and they look comfy. Like, they might be pajamas. She has a book quite close to her chest that she was clearly reading, and has like opened the door quite warily a little bit, and her piercing eyes with sort of dark bags around them sort of look out. Very intense eyes, very intense. One of those things where humans probably think she's wearing eye makeup, but just looks like that. And she just kind of looks at you, kind of like you see her eyes kind of look over Barut, and then slightly past, but not so much. And she opens the door a little bit more. Why are you asking about her?
Are you familiar with what's happening in the library down on the lower level?
I've heard baleful rumors.
There is a banshee, poltergeist. I'm terribly sorry for your loss. We are trying to learn about Aelody and what happened and her history so that it doesn't become forgotten.
She very slowly closes the book she had, and this house is tight enough that she can literally kind of just put it on the bookshelf that's over there. Say, well then I suppose you should come in. And sort of steps back enough, walks up the stairs, where down here seems to be a bit of a kitchen, where upstairs is basically a living room / bedroom, two creatures that don't sleep in beds unless they are wealthy enough to afford a bed. A comfortable little area. It's got like a very nice, like a reading nook in a window. The window was slightly open. Very comfortable. Lots of blankets, lots of books in bookshelves. Pretty damn neat, which is not surprising for an elf. And it's one of those things when it's a tight squeeze for all of you in here. There's not enough seats for all of you, but there are like blankets on the floor, and I'm
on the ground, kneeling like I would be meditating, but for the purposes of this conversation.
And she will start pouring tea. She has enough tea for all of you, even though she didn't know you were coming. And will...
It's a day's stock.
Yeah.
She was ready for tea for her for a long time. I do that sometimes. It's
That's what nerds do.
Yeah,
and we'll give each one of you a sort of a ceramic cup. It's not china or anything. It's just simple ceramics. And then it takes a bit of time for her to seemingly adjust herself. And then looks over a lot of you. Says, I can presume who you are. You are Grey Fists from the north. You are hunters of monsters who have come to hunt the tortured spirit of my good friend. I am not taking anger out on you, and I apologize for raising my voice. She has not. But that is... I am deeply troubled by what has happened to Elodie. As you would not understand. The bond that we had, it is not something that humans could understand, I'm sure. But in some novels I have read, it kind of trails off.
Don't bring your smut into this.
And I'm going to just pause, drink my tea just a little bit, and say, we were brought here, yes, to slay the Banshee in the library, but I will be honest with you, we tried. And then we learned more. We learned her name, we learned the circumstance, and we learned of the Forgotten. And the King of Spears.
That was her work. I would say it was her life's work, but her life was ended too quickly for that to seem an apparent phrase. She felt for them.
Varric would speak up saying, she told me to finish what she started.
She spoke with you?
Well,
scrolled on a table when I was there.
She gives Varric a very long look. It might be like 5 minutes before she like replies to anyone else.
While she's doing that, he's actually going, this is really good.
It's a very nice little herbal tea sort of thing.
Well, this is the first time Varric's had tea, and I've already decided he's going to really like tea, sir.
He's an elf.
Yeah. You got a good... you got a good start. When a nerd makes tea, you know they're doing it right.
Yeah.
When she's done with that look, she's like, I am surprised, but it does mean that I can trust you with this information. If even after death she has chosen to entrust you with this information, and clearly you are going to do right by it. The King of Spears, and taking him out of the equation that is Thundrel, was to be her life's work. The King of Spears is a despicable, horrendous man who turns those wretched and set out of their homes and those who have nowhere else into pawns in a game he is playing with no end. He merely wants to play the game and be the king. Elodie challenged that, but she has had nothing in the way of might, physical or magical. So she was burnt alive in the vineyard that he uses to create his narcotic concoctions.
Well, that is some unfinished business.
Mm.
I will ask. You will most likely go to that vineyard anyway. If you are investigating this, as I have read novels about groups traveling on such and finding clues. If you do find her body, give her a true and proper burial. I can see the adornments of a man of faith on you, Birowit. Please do that.
You have my word. If we come across her, we will give her a proper burial.
And then looks to the rest and says, and slay the followers of the King of Spears without prejudice. They might have been regular people once, but now they are monsters who follow the command of a monster more dire than a dragon.
Okay.
Slaying monsters is what we do.
That
Yes.
we can do.
Is there anything else you would be needing?
What is this? It's lovely.
Well, that is
And
Just
directions.
Oh yeah,
just a-
sorry, that too.
just a simple concoction. Directions to the vineyard. I did not travel there myself. I would have no idea where it particularly is, other than it is north of the city, not in the southern vineyards.
Thank you.
And I'm going to pull out from my bag. Sorry, hold on. Here we go. Crimson Mountain Whiskey. And I'm going to hand her the bottle and I'm going to say, in case you need a different kind of concoction.
You are curious individuals, and I would very much like to know more about you in the future. But for now, you have tasks to complete.
I'm going to actually also pull out just a small copy of one of the pages that I didn't like the writing that I had on for the history book for the shard hosted creatures. And I'm going to, it's my first copy, so it's got my notes on it, and it's, it's just my throwaway scrap, but I'm going to be handing it to her, and I'm going to say, one of our first adventures together. And I'm going to hand that to her.
She takes it with quite a lot of interest. Tobias, give me an insight check. As you most likely start leaving. And she will follow you down the stairs and leave and stand in the doorway as many a host do. Bjorn is was inside but didn't make it up the stairs because he's a little dumb. And she ushers him out with not the most friendly attitude. Just she kind of doesn't kick him or anything, but it's sort of like a shoo, get out sort of thing.
I'll just whistle for him.
And then he's like,
Yeah.
As we go to leave, Derek would turn and just say, I'll be sure not to betray either of your trusts.
be sure that you don't.
I'm actually going to turn back and I'm gonna just ask a quick question. You're interested in stories. I'm more of a historian myself, but stories still fascinate me, and people's histories, who they were, every person from the person who would be viewed as the lowest by the Sun Elves up there to the people who are the highest. Their lives interest me, and letting their histories be told, that interests me. I intend on writing about this, on writing about Elodie. And would you be comfortable when I do write that, giving some insight into some of the parts that I wouldn't otherwise be able to know?
I will tell you what I can, but you'll be sorry to find that I am not a particularly interesting woman at all. But I can tell you about Elodie and the time that we shared together.
I would very much like that. And when I return, we'll have to have some more of that tea, because it was absolutely delightful.
It was. It's one of the things you turn and she stands in the doorway a little bit more, kind of listening to the leaves on the trees and the wind chimes and smelling the flowers much more intensely. From looking at her, she has not gone outside as often as she should. Maybe enjoying a little bit of the sun on her skin before. It's like when you're down the street a good deal, she'll close the door and you can see through some of the little windows that she's heading back upstairs.
trust her.
Well then,
Yes.
that confirms a lot of the stuff that we thought, but also gives us a clearer picture.
All right. While you think about that, we're going to take a break. Because you got to stew on information.
Mhm.
Oh, yes.
Like some carrots.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Carrots and
Yep.
stew.
Virik was a little invested, and now the idea that she wouldn't have trusted anyone easily, Virik is very invested now.
All right. We'll be back in a moment for the last hour already. Shit. All right.
Yeah, I know. What?